So several Republican presidential candidates are going to be facing off against one another tonight.
That's right. All of them taking the stage in Milwaukee for the first Republican debate of the 2024 presidential contest, I should say, minus former President Trump.
That's right. Those 8 candidates in total are expected to participate in tonight's debate. You see them there on the screen. According to the Republican National Committee, they have all reached at least 1% in multiple eligible polls. And as Errol notes, the top contender that dominates all of them among Republican voters is taking a hard pass. Former President Trump announced Sunday that he's skipping the event. Joining us now is CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, one of our favorite people to talk to, Anthony Salvanto.
Hey there, Anthony. Great to see you.
So let's dig into the numbers here, Anthony, because we know Americans want to see another candidate. We have heard that report. We have heard that from lots of respondents that they want somebody else to really distinguish themselves in the GOP field. Even if they ultimately want to vote for the former president, they want to see more competition. So talk to us about some of the most important issues to Republican voters.
Well, those voters tell us, okay, we're supporting Donald Trump, right? He's got this enormous lead, but that they would like to see those other candidates make a case for themselves, and they've heard enough about Donald Trump now. Right? They said they want to hear some policy substance. So let's talk about policy substance right here, okay? Let's see what they want to hear about. Well, all these big bars mean, number one, there's a lot of things, but start with this one. They want to hear specific plans to lower inflation. And look, in that regard, Republican primary voters, very much like all Americans, they're concerned about when does the price of eggs come down? When do they get to buy a house if they're trying to save for one, right? Reducing violent crime, stopping illegal immigration, all of these things they want specific plans for. And I think that's really important. Another one I do want to show you, though, let's talk about the relative amounts of these. We've got really high numbers on 83% reduced violent crime, 81% stopping illegal immigration. That's something that everybody wants, no matter who they're voting for. And then another one that is really important, which is foreign policy. Right? Look at this. Support for aid to Ukraine doesn't get majority support among these Republican primary voters. In fact, among MAGA Republicans, those who consider themselves part of the MAGA movement, that even gets lower. Opposition to aid to Ukraine at 58%, that's something that clearly divides the party.
Really eye-opening results there. And what also jumps out to me as we look at what's very important to these GOP primary voters is I didn't see the issue of abortion popping up. And we know that several states are now passing their own abortion laws following the Supreme Court ruling against Roe versus Wade. Where are Republicans on the prospect of a national abortion ban?
I'm really glad you raised that because I agree with you. It has been so important. All these referenda you've been seeing around the country. Certainly it'll be a big campaign topic headed into 24, right? Start with this. I just showed you a list of potential policy goals for these Republicans. Look at where stopping abortions ranks.
Wow.
Versus the rest of them, right? It's lower than that. Maybe not something you might have expected to see in a Republican primary, right? And so let me show you this. Okay, would you prefer the Republican nominee to support a national abortion ban? That's 38%. This is a very mixed distribution here. You've even got 29% who say oppose one, and this other third that say it doesn't matter what their stance is. Now, this reflects a couple of things. One is some voters might feel like they got what they wanted. They opposed abortion. They wanted it sent back to the states. Now they feel like they got that. But others may see this as, well, that could be a liability for the party. They want to win. They've seen these results so far, these referenda, knowing that it hasn't necessarily been, it isn't popular, frankly, with the majority, that overturn of Roe v. Wade. So maybe they're more like, okay, it doesn't matter. Or maybe that nominee, if they want to win, should oppose the national abortion ban. This kind of mixture might be surprising.
That's really interesting, especially because we know that Democrats are going to use this issue in particular to mobilize their voters and to try and persuade swing voters. Anthony, you also said that that migration was a major issue among Republican voters. Talk to us about how important that is and what they want to see happening.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is that we know securing the border has always been a very important issue for Republicans. It still is, okay? In particular, look at this. How should would-be migrants or migrants be treated at the U.S.-Mexico border. This, of course, a big topic of debate. I'm sure it'll come up in the debate tonight. Well, there's this split with 53% say that those migrants, whether or not they're admitted, should be punished as an example of what the U.S. will do to defend its borders, whereas that almost even split that those migrants ought to be treated well as an example of how the U.S. will treat people, or will treat people with kindness, even if they're not admitted. But this kind of split also reflects this ongoing divide in the Republican Party about what to do about immigration. There is a contingent of Republicans that say allowing some legal immigration is okay, but then there's this Republican base, many of whom are the kind of voters that'll be watching tonight, who are very much looking for plans to secure that border any way possible.
Fascinating to see those splits, considering the issues of migration at the border and abortion used to be the issues that got Republicans out to vote. I wonder, just from seeing everything you've spelled out, how this impacts the general election. Not as an actual question to you now, but that'll be noteworthy.
Something
we'll
watch and continue to ask you about,
Absolutely.
Anthony. Anthony Salvanto, thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.